What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today we have a lot of stuff that we need to go over. First, the Senate passed the budget resolution bill early this morning with a vote of 51 to 50. Lawmakers are in agreement that the $1,400 stimulus checks are a vital piece of legislation. The $15 federal minimum wage increase has been put in jeopardy. Lawmakers want to potentially give out $15,000 per year to families, and now we have a third vaccine that will be going forward with its emergency use authorization approval. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. So let's get started. Now, I want to just come out and say earlier this morning, the Senate voted and they passed. They were pretty much split on party lines, and Vice President Kamala Harris had to come in and be the tie-breaking vote. It was 51 to 50. So that means the budget resolution has been enacted and the committees can move forward with the budget reconciliation. That is big. This means we are now one step closer to seeing a $1.9 trillion stimulus package get passed in both the House and the Senate. However, this will take time. What we know is that the budget resolution unlocks the doors. That's all it does. It allows the committees to get to work, and this will mean we can see a budget reconciliation bill at some point. This does not mean the bill is going to come tomorrow. It doesn't mean we're going to see it in the next week. It could potentially take another few weeks, possibly even months, to see this actually come through. But I just want to be clear that we will see stimulus at some point. President Biden says that the committees will begin work immediately. President Biden and Kamala Harris will be meeting with the Democratic committees today to see what the next steps are. He also says there is no time to waste. Most Democrats expect this bill is going to take at least a few weeks, but it could take a little bit longer. However, most lawmakers say they are expecting this to take probably about a month, and we should see this hopefully before March 14th. Again, the reason why you're going to hear March 14th over and over again, not just on this channel or other channels, but mainstream media as well, and probably from lawmakers themselves, is because March 14th is when the unemployment benefits actually expire. So if we do not have anything done before then all those people on unemployment could potentially lose every piece of income that they have. So after the bill was passed earlier this morning, Senator Bernie Sanders, he had this to say, and you gotta remember, Bernie Sanders is the new chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, so he does have a lot of pull. He says, with the passage of this resolution, we have the opportunity not only to address the pandemic, to address the economic collapse, to address the reality that millions of kids have seen their education disrupted. We have the opportunity to give hope to the American people and restore faith in our government to fight for them. Bernie Sanders also spoke up in support of not passing the $15 federal minimum wage increase. And this to a lot of people is being seen as a huge move. But what we heard, and if you watch the Senate just over the past day, they were in session for about 15 hours yesterday. Went from like 1 o'clock to I think like 5, 6 o'clock this morning. And I watched some of it, I listened to some, but a lot of it was very tough to watch. But what we know is that a lot of people say a $15 federal minimum wage is needed. However, some of those same people also say a $15 federal minimum wage at this time is not the most important thing. Now, Bernie Sanders states that he wants a $15 federal minimum wage, but passing this during a pandemic when millions of small businesses won't survive due to this change is not the right move. So, there are now multiple senators that are opposed to a $15 federal minimum wage, and a lot of these senators are Democrats. If we have just one Democrat that opposes a piece of legislation that is going to be in the $1.9 trillion stimulus package, then it will not pass. So because of this, now that we have multiple Democrats on board with pushing this back a little bit, pushing this back just a little bit, doesn't have to go far, doesn't have to be pushed down the road years or decades, but push it back, till we get through this pandemic together, That is what they're currently saying, is that would be a better move, not only for the American people, but for the small businesses of this country as well. So we will most likely see this get pulled from the budget reconciliation bill. At this point, it seems that most lawmakers at this point are in favor of the majority of the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. However, and you're probably thinking, no, you're wrong. The majority of lawmakers are not in support of this, but yes, they are. The majority of lawmakers are in support of this $1.9 trillion stimulus package, or the pieces of legislation within it. However, pretty much every single Republican is opposed to the size. If we could bring the size back down a little bit, so make state and local government funding smaller, make the stimulus checks smaller, go to less people, the unemployment benefit, bring it from 400 down to 300 instead of additional 28 weeks, bring it down to like 11, 12, somewhere around there. More Republicans would jump on board, but Democrats don't want to do that. I'm not saying it's Democrats' fault. It's all lawmakers' fault where we're at. They could have fixed this months ago, but they didn't. Right now, something Chuck Schumer said yesterday is a very telling sign of what is about to happen. And I want to read this to you. He said, and I quote, "We cannot repeat the mistakes of the past. We cannot do too little." So he's simply referencing when President Obama and Vice President Biden took control in 2009. What happened was they had to deal with the financial crisis, the housing crisis, and all that back then. The problem was President Obama and whoever his advisors were, they decided, let's push forward with a roughly $800 billion stimulus package. Well, this provided very little. I think there was like $250 stimulus checks in there for certain individuals and families. And again, it was just a mess. But it provided very little help. And it took over 10 years to get back to where we once were. And now we're back to where we could potentially be back to where we once were again. Very confusing, very difficult. But Chuck Schumer is saying we cannot go back to this. We cannot provide too little because we cannot repeat the mistakes of the past. I guarantee you. And even Bernie Sanders has been saying this over and over again. That we cannot provide too little. If we provide too little, Democrats are going to get pummeled during the midterm elections. Again, everybody right now is looking at these midterm elections because they know the American people are looking at this instance. If Democrats don't provide now, Republicans are going to win the House and the Senate. That's what we're hearing. Now, on the same note, providing more for the American people, the American families, and even children. Republican Mitt Romney proposed an amendment yesterday, and I talked about this yesterday as well, but he proposed an amendment that would provide families with children up to $15,000 per year in stimulus checks. Now, it is unknown if this would just be for this year during the pandemic, or will it continue on? Well, what we do know is that it will provide $4,200 for children that are between the ages of 0 and 5. It will provide $3,000 for school-age children between 6 and 17. This is actually an increase over what President Biden has proposed, because he proposed $3,600 and $3,000, which again, $3,600, we pretty much add another $600 on top of that, which is going to come out to about $50 per month. Now, this amendment will most likely not get enacted into the $1.9 trillion stimulus package simply because it is pulling money from other priorities that Democrats feel are needed. So because of this, this particular proposal from Mitt Romney probably won't get picked up. However, it could be a compromise between what Mitt Romney proposed and what President Biden is proposing. If it is, that will be great for the American people and the American families. However, if you are an individual with no kids, or your kids have grown up, they are gone, they're off in college, have their own lives, I get it, this does not apply to you, and this is probably seen as just wasteful spending. I understand. But the reason for this, and just think, if you have children, and when they were younger, or if you don't have children, just think, what about when you do have children? Raising a child is fairly expensive. I have 3. Hey, it's fairly expensive. I'm not saying we need this, but this would help bring many children out of poverty. This would help many families provide for those kids. And I know what you're thinking. It should not be on the U.S. government to give money just for families to have kids, because then that just rewards people that are having more and more kids. Well, this actually has a cap of 5 kids. So you can only get paid up to 5 kids, but you can only get paid up to $1,500 or $1,200 per month. But it says a cap of $15,000. So very confusing, but that's what we know. But what we are hearing is that both parties want to see this as a monthly stimulus check. A monthly check, not a yearly tax benefit, tax credit, a monthly check. This could be big, and I say this because right now, children are pretty much going hungry because a lot of parents do not have the funds to give their children the food and nutrition that they need and they desire. Because of this, this is why many families, this is why many lawmakers who do have families are pushing for something like this, because they do not want to see their children, they do not want to see other people's children go hungry simply because their parents cannot afford the food that they need because they are already paying other bills, their rent, their utilities, and other things like that. So this is where lawmakers are trying to step up. So here's what is currently on the table for this $1.9 trillion stimulus package. And again, we should know more about the specifics of this bill in the coming weeks. And obviously there's not everything in here, but this is the kind of the main talking points. First, we do have that child tax credit or child stimulus check, whatever you want to call it, for $4,200 or $3,600, depending on which bill you take up. We also have $1,400 in stimulus checks for all. Yes, this includes filers, their spouse, their children, and any adult dependents. This will go to inmates. However, because one of the amendments that was taken up last night that was passed was they all said no to illegal immigrants actually getting a stimulus check. We also know there will be $400 per week for unemployment. This will go from March 14th all the way till September 30th, which is going to be great. I think a lot of people will be very happy about this. We also have $30 billion for rental assistance, $130 billion for schools. Some put out a proposal saying that, or an amendment saying that we can only provide funding for schools that open up once their teachers have received the vaccines. However, that amendment was not passed, so we'll see what happens there. What I can tell you is that, yes, teachers are being looked at as one of the more important people to get a vaccine so that the children can actually go to school and hopefully everybody will be safe. We also have $160 billion for vaccine funding, $350 billion for state and local government funding, and the $15 federal minimum wage right now will most likely be pulled out. According to all reports this morning, this will most likely be pulled from this $1.9 trillion stimulus package. But like Nancy Pelosi stated yesterday, that there is nothing that stops them from putting this back into the next package and just trying to roll it over and see when it would actually become a law. So we will see a federal minimum wage increase under the Biden administration. It just depends on when and how high it goes. Now, I think it's going to stay at $15. I don't think it's going to go any higher. But like some people are saying, that's going to take 4 years to even implement. So it would go from $7.25 now to, as soon as this bill is passed, it would go to $9.50. So a $2.25 raise. However, some like Bernie Sanders are saying that he would like to see this happen immediately, not phased in over 4 years. But at the same time, it does hurt small businesses. So you have to kind of look at both sides of that coin. Now, what I can tell you is that the next few weeks are going to be crucial. What we see happen will be interesting. These committees will need to begin putting together their budgets to meet the requirements of this $1.9 trillion stimulus package and meet the rules for the budget reconciliation. President Biden and VP Harris are already expecting to meet with Democratic committees today to go over and discuss the next steps of this stimulus package and kind of talk about their priorities, what they want to see, and stuff moving forward. So we should start hearing more on this very soon. How soon? Again, I don't know. My guess is, they're going to start working immediately, is what President Biden has stated. If they start working immediately, which means today, that means we could potentially start hearing stuff this coming week. We could start hearing some news this coming week. We could start seeing leaked reports, which if we start seeing leaked reports, we can start putting everything and piecing it together so we know exactly what's going to be in here and what the American people should expect. So, let's talk about the COVID news. The United States reported 126,842 new cases yesterday alone, and, wait for it, 5,116 deaths. Yes, yesterday was our highest death day on record. Right now, we are leveling off in deaths and dropping in cases. That is considered good. That is considered really good. Now, this was a slight anomaly. It went up quite high, but we are still months away from seeing both of these numbers drop off significantly. I just want you to understand that experts are currently saying this is a pivotal time. We need to still mask up. Some are saying to double mask and even social distance, okay? Because some are saying even if you have a double mask and you do not social distance, it still does not help you 100%. So if you social distance and put on 2 masks, you can be much safer and you can help stop the spread of this virus. We also know that Johnson & Johnson have asked for their EUA, their Emergency Use Authorization from the FDA. They asked for this yesterday. So in the matter of a few weeks, we could see another vaccine hit the road and start being used. We also know that the Biden administration is allowing over 6,500 retail locations to begin vaccinating their communities. This is going to start with just about 1 million vaccines, but this will most likely increase over the next few weeks. What I can tell you right now is the reason why we are trying to use retail locations like CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, and places like that is because there are some communities that have one of these stores but do not have a large distribution site because of this. And this is especially true for people in California. This is going to help more and more people have access to the vaccine. Right now, some people can't wait in a line for 3 hours to get a vaccine because they just can't leave their home for that long or for whatever reason. And that is what is currently understood. But the Biden administration wants to do whatever possible in order to get the vaccines out to the American people. So, just do what you can to protect yourself and protect your loved ones. That's all we can really do. But that is what we know right now regarding the current stimulus package and the COVID news. So if you have any questions, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on. And I'll see you guys on the next one.